The question that has been asked frequently, the question that has been asked by you to us so frequently recently has been, how can so many people seem to knowingly believe untruth? How can so many people be led astray by lies? How can so many people believe conspiracy theories? How can so many people be misguided by politicians all over the world through the use of propaganda? But it is not just simply that lies are told or that lies are repeated. For when people see lies, they do not necessarily believe them, even when they've seen them with their own lying eyes. And when people hear lies, they do not necessarily believe them, even when they've heard them with their own lying ears. People watch horror movies, but they do not believe what they have seen is real. People tell all kinds of stories and fairy tales, but they know that they are stories and fairy tales. What is it that makes political lies so potent? Listen carefully. This is not the result of karma. It creates karma. It is a dharma in itself, but this is not the result of such things. So what is it? Why are people so willing to believe? What you must remember is that humanity is a spirit essence in an evolutionary animal body. You have mind and thought, but it goes through what was once a very primitive brain and still has very primitive urges. Now, your primal brain, from way back when, is programmed to respond to certain things: pleasure, security, fear. When the big monster was coming through the savannah or swinging through the forest or roaming about near the water, your ancestors knew that they were about to be attacked. They were about to be eaten, chased, or killed. Now, you are the human being with the divine spirit dwelling within. But you still have this primitive part of the brain. And what is happening, intentionally so, is not simply a lie being told, but you're being manipulated by fear. And fear is a powerful stimulant that causes chemicals to be released in the brain and causes memories to be locked in. This is what causes post-traumatic stress. Actually, the fear factor locks it into the being, and it can be removed. But when politicians and leaders and clergy use fear for manipulation, it is the equivalent of black magic. This is what was meant when that which is translated from the ancient scriptures telling people not to use witchcraft. That which you call witchcraft today didn't even exist at that time. What was the uttering and the muttering that they were talking about in dark places? Taking the mind to dark places to fear. And that is being done throughout the world. Leaders will say, you must fear those who are immigrating to your country. You must fear those who are different. You must fear people taking your jobs. You should fear that someone will take your food. You should fear someone that is different. And sometimes, in some countries, these fears are manipulated in other ways. Oh, you should be fearful. Therefore, why don't you have more guns to protect yourselves? Even though those guns will ultimately be used to create more deaths. They create money for the arms manufacturers. And they create more fear for the politicians and leaders to run on and campaign against. And everybody is happy and fearful. And that's the way some people like it. And what of the clergy throughout the world? How many times has it been said, save your soul from the damnation of hellfire. If you sin, you will burn in eternity. This fear being put into people even when they are little children without understanding. The parents tell them everything else is a fairy tale. But let that child burn a finger on a match or a lighter, and they will say, oh, child, you think that is bad. You should imagine what it would be like if you felt all over that awful. That's what it would be like in hell. You don't want to go there, so you have to be a good child. And what about the lesser fears? The fears that parents use. Oh, be quiet so you don't wake the monster in the closet. Oh, be quiet so the monster under the bed doesn't know you're sleeping. Oh, be quiet or I will read to you a terrible book. It's got pictures of monsters that everybody hates. Fear is the motivator that is causing people to believe the lies. Fear teaches a child the fear of hell and then makes them a good, guilt-ridden Christian, Catholic, or Muslim for the rest of their lives. Fear is what politicians use to motivate you to the polls. Oh, your economic situation will be awful if you don't vote for me. Those liberals, those conservatives, those awful people on the other side of the aisle, they will ruin the economy and you won't have enough to eat. You won't have a job. You won't have health security. Oh, you don't need health care. If there was to be universal health care, you wouldn't be able to buy insurance. And you know insurance is the only thing that's keeping you well now. So imagine if you had free health care and couldn't buy insurance. It would be a living hell for you. That is fear. That is the way you're being motivated. And that is the way dictators, that is the way that rulers who want to just hold people under their thumbs rule. But it is now also throughout the world the way in democracies that people are campaigning. And the lies are getting bigger and bigger, and the fear is getting more grandiose with every election. Now, how do you combat this fear? Actually, you combat the fear by having inner peace. But because the world is what it is, this always means that there will be a percentage of people that will not have inner peace. And since to have peace in the world requires people to have inner peace, it also means there is difficulty in actually having a true world peace. It's not impossible, but where peace must be found is by each individual within. Now, on a practical level, one person might say, well, if fear motivates, then if you have 2 parties or 3 parties or 4 political parties, let the other parties use fear too. And then everybody will be on equal footing. But it is a spiral downward to the depths of hell. And before it is over, you have left politics and gone to religion, because that's where you can really dominate with true fear. Oh, your soul is going to be endangered for eternity. And we all know what happens when you mingle politics and religion. You don't have to wait and worry about your soul. Your lives become living hell. So we are telling you now, the answer to your question is fear. Why are so many people believing these lies? Because they are being intermingled with fear. And then the chemicals released in the brain just imprint these lies attached to the fears. That is why we leave you with blessings and with peace. Peace be with each of you.